Ooh, and we get a catalog to further spend money I don't have on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hang this right up. Put it away for now. That could get me in trouble. Hello everyone. I realized that when I recorded this episode, there is too much content to cram into half an hour, so I had to cut it down. This episode will be the engine assembly and putting it back into the service rig. The next episode, which I will drop next week, will have all of the accessories bolted up to the engine, showing all of that, and then we'll do the actual engine run-up / break-in on that episode. I don't know who gave this guy a camera, but we'll go ahead and tune in here and see what the deal is. Before we bolt everything down, lube everything up, we're going to do some plastic gauging and see what our main journals are like with the new bearings we installed. Alright, time to see what the damage is. So looking at our journals, we're looking no more than 0.03 of an inch. 2 is ideal. It looks like we got 0.02 on our first journal. Excellent. So for journal number 2, it is under 0.02. It's more like 1.5 thousandths of an inch. This would be the middle journal, or number 3 if you will. Looks like 0.02. It looks like we're running out of light. Just a skosh under 0.02. So now I'm going to clean the plastic gauge off the journals, lift this thing out, then we'll go ahead and oil everything up and put everything back together for the final time. Oh yeah. Torque to specs. And of course, you always gotta have to do a spin test just to make everything works. Yep. Feels good. No binding. A little bit of resistance, but that's normal. Excellent. Excellent. Alright, let's go ahead and we'll prep some pistons up and put some pistons in the holes. Alright, so I'm going to show everyone how I'm cleaning my pistons up and putting them back in. The rest pins, unfortunately, are press fit. I can't take them off readily without doing some MacGyvering, which I'm going to be too lazy and I'm not going to worry about that bit. Again, this is a refurbishment, not a rebuild. I'm going to go ahead and clean everything up in the solvent tank. But before I do that, I'm going to do some pre-cleaning in the ring grooves. Break your old rings off in half, and then you can use it as a perfect spacer to get in there and clean your ring grooves up with that carbon and junk that's all built up in there. Go ahead and turn on our solvent tank and let me see what I got to work with. I got still a little bit some in the ring groove I need to get. Okay, we have a mostly cleaned piston. Say clean, I know it's still stained, but for all intents and purposes, it's clean. At this point, you need to check your piston ring gap, make sure they're all in spec before proceeding on to the next procedure, which is putting the piston rings onto the piston. I forgot to record it because I think I was just too excited to get this thing back together again. Alright, second ring, this particular one, the dot goes up, faces up rather. No, I don't have expander ring tool. I have to kick this old school style. You can do it too. Just remember, they're cast iron. They are very, very brittle. There we go. Second ring's on. Now for the top ring. This particular one, for the particular piston rings that I'm using, can go either way, up or down. There's no orientation to them. There we go. Right. Now you might be saying to yourself, yeah, way to go, Einstein. You put all that solvent in there, now it's going to rust out. How are you going to prevent that if you didn't take the wrist pin out? Well, I'm going to show you right now how I'm going to circumvent that potential problem. Now that the rings are in, I'm literally just going to dump this whole thing in a bucket of engine oil. Submerge the whole thing, just like we did with the automatic transmission clutch packs. Go ahead and submerge that all the way. This bucket's pretty full. I gotta be careful. I gotta do this slowly. And there you go. Now I'm just gonna work it a little bit, let it set for a few minutes, let that oil seep in, and we'll be ready to install the piston into the engine block now. Or in a few minutes. Let all the bubbles get out of there first. And all I'm gonna do is just do a clean sweep of the cylinder liner, make sure that there's no junk in there. Then take a rag and with oil on it, go ahead and oil it all up over your connecting rod bearing. Let's see here. Notch on the piston points towards the front on this particular Ford OEM pistons. Okay. I do have a clamp compressor for the ring so you can squeeze it all in and stick it on down, but it's too small. It's one of those cheapo ones. They're junk. I hate it, so I just use the whole screwdriver pick method to get the rings to compress. And one more. Just like that. Pretty easy. There you go. And all I did was use a pick and the adjustment tool for drum brakes. That's all I use. You can use a couple of screwdrivers too, just go on opposing sides and push it together. Just tap it by hand and it'll go down. So if you don't have fancy tools to put piston rings in, you can use regular hand tools as well. Now I'm going to simply do is just rotate it, draw it up top so we can actually work on it and see what the heck's going on. Perfect. Now before we clamp this down, we got to do some plastic gauge. We got to measure our clearances, making sure we're not going to have any rod knocks or binding issues. So keep the bearings dry while we do some plastic gauging. Make sure your surface is pretty dry right here. You want accurate reading. Plastic gauge is now on. Go ahead and crimp it down. Torque to specs. Looks like we're just shy under 2 thousandths. It's for all practical purposes. It's at 2 thousandths. Excellent. I'll go ahead and wipe the plastic gauge off, oil this up, and bolt her down proper. My white lithium grease finally ran out, so I'm just going to kick it old school style. Works just fine too. Go ahead and oil up the connecting rod on the bottom side. There you go. That will do nicely. Make sure the correct orientation. Mine are stamped from the factory, which is a lovely feature. All right. Now for the oil pan gasket. I have the Ford, I don't know what I'll call it, higher performance. It's the one-piece design that I believe came all on the electronic fuel injection engine blocks. Basically, what, 87, 88, newer. Basically starting in the late 80s, early 90s. You can use these on the older 70s and 80 blocks, but you have to drill out 4 holes. Here, 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 and here. Basically right next to the seals on the outermost part of the gasket. Because Ford, instead of using 1/4-inch bolts all the way along here, at the very end, they used 5/16 bolts right here. Now I've already go ahead and punched these out a little bit. I'll show you how I did that. So what I basically did is got a Dremel bit. This obviously is not a high-speed drill. I had to put my transmission in the second gear, and then it worked all right, and picked these up for $5, $10. They're not that terribly expensive. It's just a carbide bit, and all I simply do is get it in there and just start wallering it out like this. Now you might be saying, why don't you just use a drill bit and drill them out? Well, drill bits are way too aggressive. They'll bite in too quickly and tear the insert right out, and you're buying another gasket. It's better to go with the carbide cutting blade, like on a Dremel tool. Just go nice and slow and slowly waller it out, or a similar type of a bit, and you won't have to worry about ripping out that insert. Yes, you get sound effects on this channel. Sometimes homegrown. A bit of schooling when we put our new gear set in. This is the old gear set. If you got, I think it's a 72 or newer, this gear set is automatically has 4 degrees of less timing Then, I don't know, it was 70, 71 where they stopped making the gear sets that are true timing gear sets. In 72, I believe it was 72, they started reducing the timing for emission purposes. And from 72 all the way up to the fuel injection 460, so 88, 89, they had these reduced timing gear sets. And the way you can tell if you have one is find your arrow here, match it up against the keyway. You know that this one is offset. It is offset because this is timing on here has been reduced by 4 degrees. Just replacing the timing set, I guarantee you, if you got like a 72 all the way up to 86 Ford 460 and you put a true timing gear set in here, I guarantee you you're going to wake that thing up. And it's not too terribly hard. You just got to rip off the front of the motor, but most of those engines are old school enough to be just fine. So I'm upgrading mine with a true timing gear set. So take note of the keyway, and the arrow is off on that one, right? On the true timing gear sets, for this one, you have 4 degrees of advanced and reduced 4 degrees there, and you have the true timing mark here. Notice, if you will, the circle, which is factory timing, matches up perfectly with the keyway. Okay, this is a true timing gear set. Plus it's roller, double roller chain, if you will. One quick note to add, if you're going with the upgraded timing kit, do not grab the steel sprocket set unless you upgraded the bearing behind the sprocket for your camshaft. I think you need like a Torrington bearing or something like that, because the steel gear will grind up against that mild steel or cast steel in the back, and it will chew your whole camshaft up, and things are gonna get ugly real quick. This is the factory cast sprocket type that I know is not going to eat away at the camshaft. Now obviously it's cast, so it's going to wear out a little bit quicker than steel, but I'd rather have the teeth wear out than have it chew up on the back side into the camshaft. As for this little bugger, it is an oil sling. You would only use it with the plastic timing gear set as it needed additional lubrication to prevent premature wear on the plastic teeth. With the double roller timing set, using the sling is unnecessary and can be chewed up by the wider rolling chain setup. If you're using a roller chain setup, you can go ahead and get rid of this oil sling. Now I present to you the water pump. Got the backing plate all cleaned up. This is one of Ford's lovely dorky 2 gasket backing plate setup. It's quite lovely. Let's see here, I think. I think that might be the wrong bolt, which is even better. And now on to the cylinder heads that I've been waiting a month and a half for. The good news is the machine shop was able to fix them. Let's take a quick close look and look at their handiwork. So the first cylinder head, not too much. They put an insert here, 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 and I think there's one more here. The other one was a little bit more sticky. There's only one insert here, and the big nasty hole that was completely wallered out and someone absolutely destroyed. What they did is they ended up putting a 1/2-inch pipe thread plug in there, and all they did is machined it. They opened it up, re-threaded it to accept the 1/2-inch plug. I think for us it's National Pipe Threads, and they milled it down, and they took the measurements, they matched up the gaps so the holes are correct, and they simply tapped the threads. There is no way of fixing cast iron once it's cracked. Well, okay, yeah, you can fix cast iron technically by welding if you know somebody who's very competent, but welding cast iron back up is very nasty business, very tough. You got to use expensive nickel rod, and you have to have years of working with cast iron for it to be remotely feasible. Fortunately for this, The previous owners did not drill into the water jacket, thank goodness. So we didn't have to worry about putting an insert in there. They just simply used a 1/2-inch pipe plug, and works out great. Trust me, we will be using plenty of never sees when that thing goes back in, and we will not be torquing it to 80,000 foot-pounds. Come on, you stupid dowels. There we go. Stage 2. Fight! Oh, I'm missing a lifter. Hello? What? No, sitting on the floor. Oh, who's in charge? Somebody write the management. One of these three things is not like the other. Ah, yes, you found it. The oil splash guard is supposed to come up through the push rod. It sprays oil and then it redirects it down into the fulcrum rocker piece. Make sure when you do this, you do it right. Don't do it wrong. I got this 100% backwards, as is my nature. It's amazing anything gets done on this channel. So now we're just gonna flip it around. Hey, there we go. ID10T error. Now in this particular engine, this is a full fulcrum bolt setup. There is no adjusting your rocker arms. You simply snug them down like I did, and then you torque them to 18 to 25 foot-pounds. Well, I suppose we ought to give it a spin. See, make sure the geometries and stuff goes up and down kind of correctly. All right, well, I'm pretty satisfied with that. Everything goes up and down and the lifters are turning. I think it's about time we put on an intake manifold. Ooh. So now comes a moment where I have elected to bolt the engine up to the transmission and shove all of it as one unit back into the service rig. Now I know that I don't have all of my accessories bolted onto the front of the engine, but we have a slight problem. My engine sling, okay, is only rated for 1,500 pounds. Now I know that this block weighs close to 1,000 pounds. It's a big one. And that transmission with the Gears Vendor overdrive unit is probably going to be pushing at least 500 pounds as well. It's going to be close. So basically my engine sling, capacity-wise, safety-wise, is about maxed out. So we'll have to put the engine transmission in next, and then we'll have to bolt everything around it. Now fortunately I have the front clip of the truck already off, so assembling everything won't be that big of a deal. So another reason why I want to bolt this up to the truck immediately, my caster came off of my stand, my engine stand. And there's some of the bearings in there. I mean, really? This is the first engine that this engine stand has witnessed. As you can see right here, all of my bolts and the plate are still there. I mean, they don't make good parts or good tools anymore. If you want it done right, you gotta get old used parts from 50 years ago. Probably expect next winter's content to involve the engine stand. Before we put it in, I forgot one last bit. Regarding the EGR ports on the cylinder heads, I have elected on my ports, there's 4 of them, to plug them up as I will not be using them. You can make your own plate, block it off here, but you can also buy the plugs for them. As you can see right here. Here's your sealed part number, 3812188, and they're about a 5/8 size. You can take this number. This is also a Clevite number. You can go and take that, and your part boys should be able to reference that. So we'll go ahead and just simply stuff them into the hole right quick, and then we can stuff the engine into the truck. Just put in about 1/8 of an inch in is all you need. As far as installing your torque converter, for this particular transmission we got 2 splines we need to make sure that they are fully engaged and fully seated. The way you know if your torque converter is completely on those splines, take your fingers up underneath here. You shouldn't be able to reach behind here at all. I can still reach in behind there. So it still is not fully engaged. The dog's at it again. Well, this is supposed to be the right converter. Yeah, no, that's not on there all the way. There it goes. Now, if I take my fingers, I can't get back in there. Kind of hard to visualize, but basically your fingertip should stop when it starts curving on the back side of that. And you cannot put your fingers between the back end of the torque converter and the oil pump. And I can't. All right, fully seated. I do take note off camera, I did put 1 quart of oil inside of the torque converter. should be the final drop. Yes, there it is. I'll go ahead and get up underneath the transmission, at least jack it up a little bit. Give it some back support. I think the next big thing, we'll go ahead and do a jump cut right here while I'm doing a lot of bits and bobs offline and getting some wiring harnesses all strewn together before I put the front clip in. Is we'll take a look at the distributor next. I'm going to show you how I'm going to recurve that for more timing at lower RPMs. Recurving the distributor, I have two lighter springs instead of the stock heavier springs we'll replace. They're buried clear down in here, so we gotta basically tear off the top bit of the distributor and get to said springs down below. Now, when yarding your reluctor ring out, don't grab it by the teeth and shear that off. Yeah, you can get new ones, but go in underneath, which I'm gonna have to get a different pry bar for that because I cannot. Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. Right, because that might be too big. Yeah, that's just a shade too big. Wonderful, this is getting off to an awesome start. Ooh, that was close. Darn near stripped that one out. Might have to find a replacement one for that just in case. Alright, pickup coil coming out momentarily. C-clip. There we go. Well, I just succeeded on breaking both bolts off. And there we go. So here's our two springs we're going to replace. My spring is a Mr. Gasket 925D. There we go. Okay, recurved. This is a simplistic way of recurving it. If you want to get really technical, there are stamps on here. You can figure out all the degrees and, maths that are way above my simplistic comprehension. I should note that the heavier spring has been replaced with the medium spring from the kit, and that is used to drop the total RPM down to around 3,000 RPM. The lighter spring has been replaced by the same medium spring in the kit, and that is to delay the initial timing, since I added 4 degrees timing via the true timing chain gear set. So now the timing curve is basically straight, or linear, if you will. I don't know how well this will work initially. What I'll have to do is drive it around and see if it pings, see if pinging is an issue, and then I'll have to play with either the timing and or the spring sets and or the spring tabs to let it out a little bit more, a little bit less. I'll have to drive it to finalize that particular timing. But it's a good base timing to start. Should give us a lot more advanced spark when we're towing heavy loads and definitely give us plenty more power at the lower end. I've decided to go ahead and buy a new pickup coil. They're cheap. I've seen them go out before. Might as well since I'm in here. Ah. Oh, cool. Now I lost the seat clip. Right. Back from the store, I got 2 new seat clips. 40 cents a piece. Outrageous. I only got 2 more shots at this. Problem with my big fat fingers, it's a bit difficult to do this. Oh no. Really? Really? Again? Oh, you got to be kidding me. Okay, well, 3rd time's a charm. This would cost me $20 just in C-clips. There we go. Now what we'll do for fun, before we go any further, is hoover on the Advance, making sure all that linkage works before we continue to reassemble the rest of it. Alright, it does move. And it looks like my vacuum Advance diaphragm is good, as it is holding air. No. It's holding vacuum, not air. Will you sort yourself out? Yep, looks good to me. Uh-huh. Unconventional getting that roll pin in? Yes. Does it work? Well, yes it does. The rotor looks good. I'll probably go ahead and reuse that. And there we are. Recurved and ready to go back into action. Transmission pan. Oh, there we are. This will be the new transmission pan we'll be using. So you notice right away that this is definitely bigger. I think it holds 2 or 3 extra quarts, 4 quarts, I don't know. We've got 1 drain plug here. We also have 1 boss here that we can tap into so we can put our temperature sensor on there. Yes, I know I need to get myself a new T-handle one day. Alright. Let's see right quick what's in our swag bag. Oh, sweet! Cool. Because I think half my bolts are missing already. Ooh, and we get a catalog to further spend money I don't have on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hang this right up. Put it away for now. That could get me in trouble. I know, you thought I was going to forget the drain plug. Sorry to disappoint. Alright, new upgraded transmission pan in. Going to put some oil in it and see what happens if it leaks. Where are we at, Captain? Right down to the, right about that, the add mark. That'll be okay initially. It can hold several more quarts, but I don't want it flowing out of the dipstick tube O-ring. So what will happen is we'll get the engine started, run it for a few seconds, build oil pressure, then shut it off, and we'll put several more quarts in there. Then we do the actual engine braking. That should be enough oil by then dumped in the transmission. It won't burn up. Fluid check. I don't see anything leaking here or anything over here. And nothing coming out of the dipstick tube. Sweet. Go ahead and install the driveline now. This is my original. They just chopped it a couple feet off of it with the measurements I've given them. They rebuilt it, rebalanced it, and should be good to go again. One thing I like about the driveline shop I went to, I didn't ask, and they put all manual grease zerks in all of the U-joints. There. There's one there, and one there. I also like them because they put quality parts on here. Spicer yoke, as well as Spicer U-joints. Awesome. There we go. Get the someday over the rainbow. Are you gonna behave yourself now? Good. Well, I got the right sizing right. It's just gear vendor's yoke is just a little on the taut side. Which makes sense. I mean, it's a 0-hour yoke. You know, it's brand new. All right, where's my snap rings? Really? So that's with the yoke all the way out, and then all the way extended. Oh yeah, that'll fit just fine. And I at least got about a 1/2 inch of end play just in the yoke. Almost rides right about in the center of the yoke. Looks good to me. Looks like they got it right. Plus, when this gets weighed down, this shaft is gonna push in a little bit further, but I really do like it. They got the size right. I'm surprised I got my measurements right. Alright. May want to put the transmission in neutral first. Oh, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, I'm an idiot. Okay. And don't try to ask why I do something professionally and sometimes I do it hillbilly style. Just don't ask. Ouch. Well, that's nice. So I gotta take this bugger back off, get a remote housing and do more plumbing. Oh, goody. Yeah, that's not gonna pivot over at all. And yes, I did measure it. I can't get the filter on here. Nothing but problems. Yep, that'll do it. It's just pouring out of there.
Oh, I got another cut there too. Sweet.
When tightening these up, these are a full blah, blah. Now I know that I'm leaving about half the components off the engine, and on top, of course, that's the front of the engine on this top. Now this particular engine, this is a fulcrum. They tapped it out for a 1/2-inch pipe thread. Yeah. Well, we got 2 out of 4. We got 1 engine, passenger engine. Blah. So we'll do a jump cut. So what we'll do is we'll do a jump cut to be designed to be, yeah. Let's try that again. Oh, those aren't long enough. Okie dokie. Who's in charge around here anyways? And before we go any further, we can go ahead and tighten it down, vacuum it down. Yeah. We've got the backing plate on. With these Fords, it's a 2-plate gas. Normally a sane person would use white lithium greaser pre-engine lubing oil thingy. About time.